What up, Facebook Live? This is my book review of the Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. This book right here. So to get started, let's look at the physical nature of the book. So I'm actually really surprised my library let me check this out because it looks kind of beat up, but it kind of added to the experience of reading a biography about Benjamin Franklin, or excuse me, an autobiography. So I feel like I was kind of reading the old-timey style that Benjamin Franklin originally wrote it in, even though obviously I know it's not. But a little warning before starting this book, before starting to read this book, is that it does have a lot of terms. I mean, this was written during the time of Benjamin Franklin, so there's going to be some moments where you're going to wonder what they're saying, but the author, or Benjamin Franklin, and the publisher does a really good job of putting the annotations in the text, kind of translating certain things that may not have been as obvious as someone who was not born during the time of, Benjamin Franklin and the birth of this country. So, yeah, that's just a little warning about before picking up this book. But the format of this book is, the first part is centered around Benjamin Franklin's rise, I'd like to call it, when he got into Philadelphia and he started in the printing company, and really how he kind of worked his way up through there. And the middle part talks about the values, his values. At least that's what I took from the middle part. I mean, it still follows his life, but probably one of the most important parts of this book is the values he talks about. And the third part kind of talks about that start of the American Revolution. The end kind of hits upon the Declaration of Independence and Icarus and all that good stuff. So it's kind of like flashback to AP US or any US history course you probably took in high school. That's the third part. So for the review, I found the first part and the second part really interesting in this book because his rise, any entrepreneurial story, is inspiring and really motivating. And the second part is what I really want to spend the majority of this review talking about, is his values. So he has a list of 13 values that I've written down here that he kind of found, I don't want to say valuable, he found beneficial for an ideal person. And he listed these values and he gave a quick description of them, and kind of like Benjamin Franklin's 13 Commandments. And basically what he did is throughout his day, or throughout his days, let me find a place to put this, he kept a weekly schedule of, these values. And whenever he disobeyed one of them, so say value number 9 is moderation. And moderation is to avoid extremes, forbear resulting injuries so much as you think and they deserve. So, kind of avoiding spending 18 hours, watching football. I mean, obviously that probably wasn't moderation he had to worry about, but for modern day application. And so if someone spent 18 hours a day watching football, they would put that they did that, and they would put a little check mark in your moderation to say that they still need to work on that part of the values. And basically what he would do is each week he'd focus on one value to try to really hit upon, and then once he went an entire week, without kind of failing that value system, yeah, I'd be happy to post the 13 values. Sorry. And basically, he ideally would go through 13 weeks. He would knock it out, each week focusing on another value and growing, and then he'd cycle through it. So I think he's did the math, and you could do it 3 times a year, taking off for holidays and whatnot. So I thought it was really interesting, really cool that how he kind of kept on growing. And yeah, overall, I would say this book is interesting. I really didn't like the third part that much. It was kind of like a flashback to APUS, like I mentioned earlier. So if you're a history buff, it'll probably be interesting the entire time. But, yeah, that's my review. And if you have any suggestions for books to read in the future, feel free to send them my way. I want to do a quick shout out I did this via Snapchat, but I'll do it again. I want to do a quick shout out to Grace, who sent me a book review a little while ago. I think it's Bowling Alone, a review of American Society. I don't remember the exact title, but Grace, if you're watching this, I promise you I'm going to get to it. It's just not in my local library, so once I get to a library that has it, it's on the top of the list, and I'll let you know how I like it. So yeah, so I'm going to do something different, or new, I guess, and give you a little hint of what I'm reading next. So I actually picked this up today from the library. It's called The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, excuse me. And if I understand this correctly, the whole point of the book is if you think of the outliers like in a bell curve or a normal distribution when it comes to statistics, outliers are kind of like on the outskirts. You're not as common, you get top 1%, all that stuff. And what this focuses on is instead of looking at Alright, I'll shout out to my mom for teaching me how to read via Hooked on Phonics. I still remember that, and taking the time because she wouldn't let me go into first grade, or excuse me, kindergarten without reading. So there you go, Mom. There's your shout out. Like I was saying, this book, instead of focusing on the average, what the average person does, it focuses on the outliers, the people that have reached huge successes, have had huge accomplishments in their life. So yeah, that's going to be the book I'm going to start reading, probably tomorrow. So if you like it, let me know. If you have any comments about the video or any requests, I will be posting the 13 values that I talked about in the video. But other than that, yeah, keep reading, y'all. Peace and blessings. Keep learning. And then until next time. How do I